Audio Jungle.
The aftermath of what happened. First out, I want to make a big shout out to our very first sponsor, who actually happens to be one of my friends that I used to do a lot of sim racing with and do some live streaming, and especially on YouTube and Twitch. His name is Belton621, and I'll put his logo right here, and you can check him out. Follow him on Twitch, YouTube, subscribe. He is throwing us some cash to help with parts and whatnot, which is really generous of him. I'd much rather have him actually race with us. He lives in California, and he kind of ran out of time this year to do it. But so check that out. It's pretty awesome. I'm gonna try to see if I can get a nice vinyl livery printed out by Miller Direct, maybe, hopefully this time around. And I'm gonna put his big old Bob Ross face on there and a couple other things. So should be a lot of fun. So we'll see what happens. What else? All right. So obviously we've gotten back. You've seen what happened during the race. I have some unfortunate news. Tommy and Joe have bowed out of the next race for Road Atlanta, which is unfortunate. It is a tough time of the year, being December. People are very limited on time and finances. So I completely understand. It's unfortunate because they put a lot of work and time into this car, and it would have been nice to see them, follow through. Joe's been cool enough to let me use his car though, provided that I take care of it and replace all of the consumables on it. So I will be continuing to run the vehicle for the Road Atlanta race here. All the other drivers, it seems, are going to be arrive and drive, which leaves me to do all the work. But it's all right. It is an expensive seat. I needed 3 drivers. I have 2. One of them is actually flying in from Detroit and renting a car and staying in a hotel and coming every day to race. The other one is a local who is from the Panos Racing Series. Is an older gentleman that does construction now, but is a seasoned veteran. Came by, checked out the car, and wrote me a check right then and there. I was really impressed, and gave me some super awesome radios. I'll put a clip up here of these 1990s Motorola radios. They look very similar to what we use at work. They are actually super powerful and super high range. So I do want to take a look and maybe see if we can implement those in the car, because I think they'd be a little bit more powerful than what we're running right now. Should probably talk about what I need to get done for the car. So hopefully this is all in frame. But obviously the last race we had a coolant leak in the car. I thought it was the water pump, but I don't think it is actually. And I did leave something a little loose. I had put a plug in the heater core, but it wasn't. I kind of did it through a hose that was still attached. So I've actually removed the hard line, and I have some 17 millimeter brass plugs. Could only buy them at $25 a pop, so I'll probably sell the rest of them on eBay. But the plug in the brass plug in there, it should not leak, so that should be enough. Ignition coils is another thing I needed. I actually got some from my buddy Jerry Yanks. I wanted to run the 350Z coils, just because I saw a really good coil review from Motive DVD out of Australia, and they compared them. I think the Skyline Nissan 350Z and 370Z coils were like second place only to Haltech's coil pack system. And I can get them really cheap from Jerry Yang Racing. Check out his YouTube channel and his Instagram, because he just deals with Nissan, and he had a lot left over that were used. He was giving to me like $25 a pop. I'm like, great, I'll just take 8 just so I can have some backups. But they are the direct. I think they're mounted directly to the plug, and they skip the wire. I don't think I could implement that in our system, unfortunately, so I'm going to have to give them back. I'm going to have to find a different coil pack solution that's affordable, that keeps us within the Lemons regulations. What else is there? Transmission. I actually have a transmission on the way, a second gen one, which will be a lot stronger than our current first gen transmission. I got it used out of a salvage yard. Originally I was going to buy a new one from Mazda Motorsports, but it's a little too cheap, and it just didn't really have the budget for it this time around. But it should be really good, and I got an extra differential and I don't think they can count that against us because I'm not putting it in. It's just going to be backup. And it's a second gen differential too, which changes the ratio ever so slightly, not extremely, but it'll be a little bit more acceleration than anything. So that's on the way, which was not cheap, but fair. The clutch play, we bled it several thousand times, and it does not appear to be that there's any air trapped in our clutch system, or the clutch hydraulics, excuse me. What I do believe is that the cheap aftermarket clutch pressure plate that I got, I don't think it's in spec. I think it may just be a little smaller, and that's mechanically transitioning into having to push the clutch all the way down to move that all the way to release the clutch, whereas the stock Mazda one is a little bit higher. So I actually asked the junkyard that is sending us this transmission, hey, when you take it off the car, do you mind just giving us the clutch and pressure plate? Because it's probably gonna be a stock Mazda one because of the low mileage on this car, and I can compare it to ours and see if there's a huge difference. And if there is, then that's probably what the issue is. Otherwise, I got a big question mark and I got to figure out the clutch engagement. It does work still, it's just all the way to the floor, which is not cool to drive with. And starter, I got a starter from eBay. The second gen starters are much better. They're 2 horsepower. I got one off of Amazon for like $70, which is outstanding. And this is the must-do list. I do have this list right here, which is like bonus, and that's doing front ducts for the front brakes to keep them nice and cool. Road Atlanta, especially on the back straight, is really hard on the brakes because it comes into almost a 90-degree turn, and then it has a switchback, and it's a pretty awesome track. I'm really excited for it. But it's really hard on the brakes, and it also saves on our consumables. Even though the car is light and the brakes are outstanding, the better cooling, the better it'll be. Bushings, we discovered this when we got our car aligned, is that the bushings are very old, and all the cams on the camber bushings are kind of stuck all together, and we couldn't even adjust the front. I just ended up lowering the car more to get more camber out of it. And while it's a good situation, it's a good solution for now, it's not ideal, so I do need to kind of replace those eventually. It just depends on the time. On top of all of our coils, or I should say the top of our shock mounts, all that rubber is kind of going too. It would be nice to replace it. Don't know if I have enough time because I'm the only person doing all this stuff. I need to paint the roof because A, it's just going to rust, especially if it rains, and it looks ugly as sin. I need to paint the roll cage. This is bitch work. Should be doing this. Joe, you should be over here doing this. It's your car, even if you're not racing this time. But if anybody is local and wants to volunteer, I've got plenty of hard work that needs to be done, like pull out the transmission, and it's just nice to have 2 people on that. Or if you just want to do some painting, much obliged, sir or madam. And maybe it'd be nice to weld the roof. I know I've only just riveted it ever so slightly. On this list here is like super bonus. Rear brake pad ducts, just don't think I'm gonna have to do that. Relocate the battery. I would like to do it to the inside of the car. That way I can do venting out of the radiator through the hood. Rewire the whole thing because it looks like Mickey Mouse and Fisher Price got together and wired the whole thing. And even though Joey, we all did a good job, I'm not trying to insult your work, we did it in a pinch, and it could be a little bit more well organized. And maybe a switchboard that controls wipers and all of that, and fan on and off, fuel pump. Because right now, if I want to run the wipers in the car, I actually have to put the wiper gauge back on and screw it on and hook up the wires and do it like it originally was intended to do. But the problem is that having it there, it's very easy to hit it, getting in and out, and someone's just gonna snap it clear off because we don't have the removable steering wheel right now, which is another expense which I just don't have time for. And then the very last super bonus, extra awesome thing that's on there would be aerodynamics. The whole front lip or jaw of the car is missing, kind of like me because I've gained so much weight, but it would be nice to put a flat floor pan underneath there so the air is forced to go through the radiator instead of, if it doesn't feel like it, it can just go underneath the car, which also just creates lift on top of that. So a nice splitter that goes underneath the car made out of a cheap material that keeps us within budget would be outstanding. But yeah, so that's a lot to do in 5 weeks, This is not that bad, you know, but it kind of gets dreamy as we go, being a one-man mechanic on this team. Right now, I'm also designing a livery to get printed out. Hopefully, Miller Direct will sponsor us on that, or at least, you know, do it really cheap. I don't know anything about it though, so if you have any expertise on that, you know, if you want to send me an email or something like that, I'd be very appreciative of it. You know, like what kind of DPI range you need to use when you're printing stuff like that. Do I need to make my Adobe file the actual size of the car? Is that how it's done? So I have a lot of questions if you got the time. Shout out to the 24 Hours of Lemons themselves for mentioning us in their video.
The atlriot YouTube channel was documenting their Lemons build online for the weeks leading up to the race, and when they showed up, they had this really nice looking Mazda RX8. Yeah, so was the cage good?
Yes!
Did the car look hella fast?
Yes!
Did it dominate?
Yes! Well!
Yeah, so they did actually show up for tech 30 hours late and then promptly blew up, but you know, it looked good. YouTube!
I really appreciate it, and it was just kind of awesome to see it. So thanks guys, it's pretty awesome and hilarious, and I shared it with my mom and my dad, and they're also proud. Also, all the photos from the last race that we just did, I'm going to put them on Facebook, on our Facebook account. So if you want to go check out the videos, or you're in some of the photos or whatever, just go to ATL Riot on Facebook, and there'll be a whole album for the CMP race in September. And on that note, that's pretty much all I have for this update. If you're local and you want to help out, or if you are a racer and you've got money to burn, we do have a seat left. This car is actually really expensive to run, looking at the numbers, and I'll probably move it in the Champ Car Series next year. But while it's here, if you've got the cash, yeah, holler at your boy, and we can commence some talks and negotiation. Belton, if you watch this, I would rather it be you, sir, since you've already just donated money to us, and I know you know this track because you've done it so much on iRacing. All right, that's all I got. Guys, thanks for all the love and attention. Please hit that like, follow, subscribe button. We just made it over 200, which is outstanding. I never thought the day would happen. Hope I can one day say that about 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, and then I just quit my fucking job. Yeah, so I appreciate it, guys, and I'm out of here. Have a good one.
Oh yeah, it looked good. YouTube!
Audio Jungle.